Okay, for 16 through 20, we're going to just keep on going. Here's the periodic table. Alright, so lead is right here. When you look on the periodic table, even though it's in those top stacks, you notice that we don't have a charge right there. That means that you do actually have to tell somebody what the charge is. So it's going to be lead, and we're going to have a Roman numeral there because you can't just look at the periodic table and figure it out. And then nitrogen, take the root of it, which is nit, and we're going to end it with IDE instead, so nitride rather than nitrogen. So if we uncross these, that becomes a plus 2 and a minus 3. If you look on the periodic table, it's supposed to be, nitrogen is supposed to be a minus 3, so that's okay. That means that lead becomes a plus 2. Okay, so CO is cobalt. Cobalt is right here on the periodic table. You cannot look at the periodic table and determine its charge. That means we had to figure out what it is. CO3 is carbonate. Then you leave a space there for the Roman numeral. Alright, so notice that the 3 stays within the parentheses because it's part of carbonate. So we have a 1 and a 1 here that we're going to uncross to try to find its Roman numeral. Now if you look up carbonate, you're going to realize that carbonate's supposed to be a minus 2. So in order to get that, we'd have to multiply by 2. That means we have to multiply this by 2 as well. And that becomes our Roman numeral. Okay, CD stands for cadmium. Once again, if you look on the periodic table, it's right here. You cannot look at the periodic table and determine its charge, so it's going to have a Roman numeral there. SO3 is sulfite. It's a polyatomic ion. That 3 stays within the parentheses because that's part of sulfite. We have 1 and 1. We crisscross outside of the parentheses, plus 1 and a minus 1. If you look up sulfite, you realize that's supposed to be a minus 2. So therefore, we're going to have to multiply them both by 2 to make them equal the correct values. That means the Roman numeral is actually 2. So it's cadmium 2 sulfite. Okay. Let's get the periodic table back up here. We scrolled too far. Alright, so Cu is copper. It is right here on the periodic table. You cannot determine the charge by looking at the periodic table, so that means I'm going to need a space there for a Roman numeral. NO2 is nitrite. It's a polyatomic ion. Uncross those numbers, that's a plus 2 and a minus 1. If you look up nitrite, you realize that it's supposed to be a minus 1. That means I don't have to do anything else. That means that's a Roman numeral 2, copper 2 nitrite. And then finally, we have iron. Iron is right here on the periodic table. You cannot determine the charge of iron by looking at the periodic table, so that means we do need to have a Roman numeral there. And then HCO3 is bicarbonate. Okay, notice that HCO3 is in parentheses here. So that's a plus 2 here and a minus 1. If we look at bicarbonate, it's supposed to be a minus 1, so we don't have to do anything else. We can just determine that iron is a plus 2 charge, so it's going to have a Roman numeral 2. Iron 2 bicarbonate. And that is it. And we will do 21 through 25 on the next video.